Hey, party people, it's your Uncle Ed again. Today, we're going to talk about nothing to do with economics and interest rates and the Straits of Hormuz and none of that. Today, we're going to tackle a completely separate topic, especially for those business folks who are out there. Listen up, take some notes because I have a great guest today, which is Ricky Morgan. We're going to talk about dressing up, right? Remember, we had this whole little thing called the pandemic, and all of a sudden everybody's wearing PJs to Starbucks, right? Well, guess what? We're out of the pandemic. You're starting to see people dress up again. And I'm not saying you always have to wear a suit 7 days a week, but you know what? What I am saying is that quality matters most. And so we're going to tackle that today. Thank you so much, Ricky, for hopping on, man, and imparting your great wisdom, especially when it comes to dressing up and just fashion a bit,
Absolutely.
right?
Thank
So
you.
tell us a little bit about you, man, and how you got even into this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Ed.
You bet.
How I got into this, honestly, just a combination of opportunity and timing. Everything just aligned. I used to work at a law firm, and I was going the legal route, trying to go to law school, all that. It didn't quite work out, and I was introduced to the founder of this company, and it's a franchise model. So after meeting with him, hearing his vision, having my own personal passion for fashion, that's what made it interesting to start. But then everything else just aligned with it, and so I jumped at the opportunity as fast as I could, bought the territory, and I'm now running the San Francisco Bay Area territory.
Nice. I love it, man. What was the impetus for this whole thing? When did you first get like the tickle for dressing up and just fashion in general? When did that kind of hit?
Definitely as a kid.
Really?
Yeah. So, like I was a basketball player growing up, and there's definitely a fashion crossover there. Starts with the shoes, starts with the shorts, right? Then the shirts, the jeans, everything that's on the court, and then of course off the court. So back then I was wearing like baggy clothing, all that good stuff. But like my dad worked in finance and was commuting to New York City every day for work, and so I saw him wearing a suit, and that's ultimately how I wanted to look when I grew up. Like it's wasn't really like the job, so I kind of didn't follow the same path as him as far as finance goes. But I wanted to at least look a certain way and present myself a certain way because that to me just held, gave it gives you like the people give you like the utmost respect when you're dressed up. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, that meant everything to me.
that makes sense. And look, let's be honest. I mean, New York, hello, that Wall Street look, man. I mean, they kind of came up with that, right? If you look at it, all the movies from like The Wolf of Wall Street, everybody, you look at everybody, they're all dressed to the nine.
They are
That was like the first signature of success was how you dressed, right? Your tie, is it a double lapel? What are you wearing? How many buttons, not only on the actual jacket, but how many buttons on, right? On the
right.
sleeves. All these things mattered.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's all about the presence, and these are like subtle details, but they do add up, and they are very noticeable when you really pay attention. And when you don't pay attention, all you know is you see like a really good looking suit that fits someone really well, and that's the whole thing just works.
I agree. I notice it immediately how people dress. Everything from, whether it's a female wearing a suit or a dress, all the way down to the shoes and males as well. Same thing. I notice it like instant. As soon as they walk into a room, first thing I'm doing, it's just default, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about some trends. What are you seeing now? Are you seeing a comeback to more formal wear, or is it more of the what everybody terms to be business casual?
I honestly am seeing a little more formal wear. I think it's happening slowly but surely.
Okay.
But you are seeing people like, for it starts with the blazer or the sport coat, right? Basically the jacket. It starts with that. And then after a point, I think you're noticing people who actually get a full suit from there. Because you
Mm,
do need one, right? Whether it's for outside of work, it could be just, a wedding, a funeral, a gala, right? But if you're out and about, if you go to networking events, eventually you're going to need something that really helps you feel good about yourself, helps with your presence, helps with, how you're perceived and how you feel on the inside when you walk into that room. And it doesn't have to be a suit, like you mentioned, but like the blazer is definitely making a comeback too. Um,
mm.
because also like when you do these things, if you're not going to go full suit, you still have to figure out how to stand out, right? And there's different ways to
That's a
do
good
that.
point. That's a good point because you can even wear a really nice blazer with jeans and it stands out, man. I told you
Absolutely.
about that forum that I attended of builders, and the one everybody was dressed beautiful suits, but the one guy who was worth $4.5 billion was the guy who walked in with, they looked like Converse, but they weren't. You could tell this dude spent some money on these, right? And you could tell these are not normal jeans, right? Everything looked custom done, fitted to him. He had a beautiful blazer, and he just, here he comes, man, with all that confidence, just walks in late to the thing and sits down in the empty chair that was empty for like, I don't know what seemed to be forever, but it was something like 15 minutes right after the whole thing started. So let's talk about this because I haven't actually researched any studies, but I gotta believe, and maybe this is part two, there's studies out there about how people actually feel depending on what they wear. Because I will tell you personally, when I have worn a full-blown suit and a nice tie and I walk into a room, and especially if I'm the speaker, dude, I honestly I feel like a superhero. That's just
Yeah.
the straight up truth. That's how I feel. But if I walk in just as an attendee and I'm wearing, not a suit, right? I'm just more business casual or even casual. The feel is different if I have to be honest.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like putting your armor on, like you're going for battle, whether you're going up to speak or you're just, trying to network with the right people, meet the right people, shake hands, do the whole thing. The way you enter start is where it all starts. And to feel confident enough in what you're wearing, your back, straightens out, your posture is much better. You walk with more confidence in your steps. You're not going to like trip over, something on the sidewalk. I mean, you could, but it's the odds of it, I think, decrease.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a greater feeling of owning a room based on what you wear.
Oh yeah,
I really do, because I just, now that we're talking about it, I go back to all the rooms I've been in, and I definitely feel different. There's just no doubt about it.
I mean, think about every compliment you've ever gotten, right?
Yeah,
It happens every time you dress up, I'm sure.
100%. Like,
Yeah,
oh man, nice tie, right? Even now, I think, because I'm thinking about going back to the suit when I attend things. I remember because I have something like 250 to 300 ties. I haven't worn them in a while, but I have some beautiful ties, right? And I remember, man, nice tie, right? Or, hey, man, especially us guys, right? We do it to one another. Go, hey, man, where'd you get the suit? Let me see the label, right?
yeah.
They're always like, where'd you get the suit, man? Let me see if this is legit or not, right? You know how we guys are to each other, the bros. But you're right. Definitely it's exponential, the amount of feedback I get and positive feedback I get when I'm wearing something nice. Then, hey, how's it going, Ed? Right? It just starts a conversation as opposed to starting with a compliment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And another detail is that it looks like you're really trying with it. It looks like you put some effort into
Mm.
it, which you did.
Ooh,
You did, but like it
I
just
like that.
shows so much more than, wearing casual clothing.
It's a fantastic point. Yes, the mindfulness about it, the fact that you were very on purpose
Hmm.
to then show up somewhere, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
you worked on your presence. I like that. So tell us about exactly how you do things, what you do, what's the breadth of product. Give us a sense of if somebody calls you, what happens?
So if somebody calls me, the first thing I want to know is what's the occasion, right? If it's for a wedding, obviously we're gonna go for a suit. If it's more for everyday workwear, that opens things up a bit, right? Do they need a full suit or do they need just a jacket? Do they need something more casual to go with the jacket? I also do jeans, I do t-shirts, I do polos. I actually do cashmere sweaters now too. And the thing about these things is like while they still may seem casual, at least they're still getting completely custom fitted to your specifications, right? So you still get to look sharper, and that's the biggest thing ever is getting something off the rack where maybe it fits the midsection all right, but then the sleeves are a little short, or vice versa. Um, it allows me to help people way more rather than just force someone into a suit, right? And I'm gonna make the argument that suits shouldn't be uncomfortable at all. They should be very comfortable. But if it's really not your style, then I still got you
Um,
covered.
okay, let's put a pin in that for a second because I never thought about that. So, what does it mean to be comfortable in a suit? Like, tell me what you've seen are like things that make a person comfortable in a suit. Maybe just certain type of fit, the shoulders. Give us some insight on that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. We'll take the shoulders, right? You should be able to cross your arms really, relatively easily, right? You shouldn't feel like you're about to rip your jacket. It shouldn't feel like it's suffocating your shoulders or biceps too much. You should definitely be able to close your jacket if you ever need to, button up. Um, the overall feel, it should feel soft on your skin. It should feel very, very soft on your skin. It should feel almost like you're wearing a sweater. Like it should not feel rough. It should
Interesting.
not irritate you. It should not feel like you're just itching to get out of it because it's so tight, so it's hard to
Hmm.
breathe in it almost.
I
And that's
never thought of it that way, Ricky. I'll be honest. That is great insight. Huh. So you cross, make sure that it doesn't feel like it's going to rip. Also, it should feel soft to you, right?
so
Almost like a
tough.
sweater, like you said.
Yeah,
That's really good insight. I
like
never really thought of
yeah.
it. How about on the pants side?
On the pants, it should sit on the waist perfectly, right? Not too loose, not too little. If you use a belt, obviously, that's it's normal. It shouldn't feel like you need the belt to hold it up, though. It should still sit on your waist without that belt. Then you add the belt just to add that extra
Uh,
blanket of security.
what do you
Uh,
feel? What do you think about the cinches? Some of them have like the Italians love those, man, and they
oh
don't wear belts. They just right the singeing of it.
oh, yeah, well, yeah, I have those. I have on the suit I'm wearing right now. Actually, I have side tabs on my pants.
Oh, is that what they're formally called? Side taps?
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
didn't know the names.
Well, there's a different, there's different variations.
Okay, side
But
taps.
basically, it allows you to tighten it from the side
Yeah.
so that you don't, it doesn't fall. You don't need that belt. There's no belt loops on these particular, types of pants. But it blends in, right? Like I don't think anyone's ever asked me, "Oh, hey, where's your belt?"
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
funny,
yeah, yeah. I
because there's
like that look
an extra
personally.
layer of fabric, so it
Yeah,
looks like
I
there's
think it
something there
looks nice.
anyways. But
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. So your breadth of product is very, very wide. And then do you come to the person's house or do they come to you? How's that work?
I come to
What's
the
the process?
I bring the tailor shop with me wherever I go. And I'm as convenient as possible, right? So if it's the house, I'll show up at your house. If you want me to meet you at the office, I'll meet you at the office. I've met people at fire stations, at cafes, um, at on school campus. I had a client who's an MBA student over at Stanford. Yeah, anywhere that's convenient. As long as they feel comfortable getting the measurements done wherever we meet, right? I still think private settings is the best, because we're getting pretty intimate. We take the measurements, but as long as it's convenient, right? It's works with their schedule. They don't feel like they have to rush, and we get to take our time and really go through this process together. And I handhold them as much as I can too, so that they don't feel lost and they don't feel like they have to figure it out themselves, right? A lot of people don't really know what they're looking for. They might have an idea, but not always.
So you help them with that process then? Just kind
Yeah,
of like, and are you pretty good at looking at somebody and saying, I think this will probably fit you really good, or let's discuss if they say, well, I just kind of want to change my look, man. I want to do a refresh because I've been dressing like this my whole life. Do you do stuff like that as well and give them some advice?
absolutely. I personally like to go bold. So if there's very few occasions where I'm like, no, that's just not going to work for you. Maybe it's the opposite skin tone, or the fabric color is just way off, doesn't match their eyes, doesn't match the vibe that they're going for. But I personally like to go bold. So I like to make sure that it's something they're comfortable with. It doesn't push their limits too much, right? Especially if it's the first time. You want to play it safe for the first one, and then as we go on, let's see how far we can
Uh,
take it before they kind of figure
okay.
out this is my style.
Yeah. And is that usually how it progresses, or you get a client and then you just go soft, I'll call it for lack of a better term, and then things start to progress with them as they get to know you and they trust you more, and then they're thinking more because you give them food for thought.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way it goes.
Yeah.
I had a handful of clients who, on their first go around, they're like, "Nah, I want to get something that makes me stand out, and so that I know I'm the flashiest, best dressed person in that room." And when
Nice.
they say that, I'm like, "Let's freaking go! Okay, let's do
Yeah,
this."
exactly. Okay, now we're talking, right? Okay. And then do you partner up with have you created alliances with like maybe some watch companies and jewelry and that sort of thing? Because that usually all goes together to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, I've partnered up with lifestyle brands. Uh, shoot, I wish I could remember the name right now, but they do a lot of. They actually provide cars for wedding clients, or they're people who are getting married. Like when you see them drive off in a fancy sports car, that's them behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That I've partnered with jewelry. There's the Edna Collective. I've partnered with Art and Shoes. They make dress shoes, and my company does not. So it's kind of a perfect one. We
Yeah,
go.
that's what I was asking because they're great piggybacks, right? And
Oh
vice
yeah,
versa, right? When they're talking jewelry, right?
yeah,
They
yeah,
can
yeah.
refer
Things
you
things
as
that
well.
pair very well, right? And like it completes the outfit. Like jewelry or even cologne, right? These little things that that add to the whole presence of somebody.
Yeah, and what are you seeing as far as leaders in companies? Are they starting to promote the idea of dressing nicer versus just kind of like the pajama party?
Um, it's 50-50 on that. Like I think when you especially in the tech industry here in the Bay Area, um, you're getting people at least on the more executive level who do dress up. I think lower level engineers don't really have that memorandum where they have to have that presence. But I have clients who were like, "Yeah, I'm about to get a promotion. I actually need to look a little better now, and so I need help." And in that case, most of them don't really know what to do. They're not really sure what they're
Right.
looking for, and I'm there to be the stylist and help them.
Well, I hate to do this news flash, but I mean, I'll just speak for most of the guys that I know, and I've had to work on this. We don't know how to dress as guys, man. Right? We always just default to the flip flops and the jeans, man. What's up with the t-shirts, right? We don't really know, and that's why you look at how Italian men, for example, are revered because man, they're like 70 years old, man, and they're like, what?
Yeah,
Like, check out this dude's swag, right?
right. Oh yeah.
And I just think that's so important, even just to remain youthful. And I don't, again, let's not mix this. It's not about formal versus informal, it's about quality, right?
Yeah.
Because you can notice somebody from far away, like I did with that one guy. Man, this guy's jeans, that dude had those things custom done. Like, check
Oh
this out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying more because even like lower level, let's say that they're not in leadership tech people, but they get paid really good money. You still want to show up nice, man,
Absolutely.
right? You got the money.
I can speak from personal experience. Before I was able to, buy this brand and now that I have custom jeans, I only have jeans that fit me perfectly. But before that, like when I was a kid, I wore baggy jeans, and the problem there was I wanted them extra baggy, but then they also come really long. They'd like sneak up under my shoes, and then like the back of my jeans would rip. Um, then when I started wearing more fitted stuff, it's like finding something perfect just was non-existent at all. It could be the right length, but then it's too tight around the thighs, it's too tight around the groin area, too like whatever. Maybe honestly, it would be weird where everything fits perfectly around the leg, but then the waist is a little wide for some reason. Like and so having something high quality, casual, still makes all the world of a difference.
Yeah, I agree. I look at some of these events where some of these higher net worth people, show up in Ferraris and things. I'll tell you, man, most of them, when they get out, you could just tell. It went from the leather of their seat in the car, man, to what they're wearing. I mean, there's a clear transition that everything here is high quality,
Yeah.
right? And here's another thing I noticed about when you wear high quality, you don't have to boast. There's no peacocking. The clothes speaks for itself, right?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you just
wear
know.
it out, people see you, you're already standing straight up, and that's all you need.
That's
You know,
it. I couldn't agree
people,
more.
people,
Who's a great client for you? Who's a good fit, pun intended, for you? Like who's an ideal person to come to you?
um, I can go in a bunch of different directions with this. I'll start with the basics, right? I think lawyers who have to go to court, particularly right, lawyers who work in litigation, they have to have that presence when they go speak in front of the judge, right? Having a well-fitted suit really, really helps. It helps their client feel better about who's representing them. It makes a judge respect them a little more because they look put together, they look serious versus someone who's wearing a suit from I don't know Kohl's, TJ Maxx, like something that's just it's gonna be wide, it's gonna be sloppy, it's just not gonna look good. So that's a start. Then there's the finance professional. I think most finance pros, even here, still look, they have to look their best. Um, Anything that's client facing in that section where you kind of have to look like you know what you're doing, right? You're advising someone about their money. You have to look like you make a lot of money. So yeah. And again, it doesn't have to be the suit. It could be a blazer, it could be a custom pair of jeans, it could be a really fitted polo that just
Mhm.
snug around the arms, snug around the shoulders, just fits you so well that you don't have to think twice about it.
Yeah, that's great insight. Excellent. Well, if this described you when you're watching this, there's his email. You know, the great thing I love about Ricky is that Ricky is just a dude, right? He's a great guy, super knowledgeable. He's not salesy. He's not going to trick you into buying stuff. Have a consultation with him because I think it's going to change everything. If you even have an inkling of wanting to change it up and level it up, reach out to Ricky. What's a good phone number to reach you at as well? Because I see your email address there. But what's a good
Sure.
phone number?
My phone number is area code 925-588-9183.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Reach out to him, book a consultation, give him a talk. Let's strategize for you and let's make the rest of 2026 and beyond one of those years where you really just stand out in every room, right? That you're attracting the right people. I call it the 5%ers. Go and attract the 5% of people that you get into collaboration with that change everything because these are the people who move needles and they move mountains. Those are the people you want to get in to collaboration with and go into different rooms to find them because I'm going to tell you something, it's not easy to find them, but when you find them it's like a nuclear explosion. The collaboration opportunities that come out of it are fantastic. Look at us two here, right? This came out of an introduction and now I'm interviewing Ricky and Ricky's able to bless everybody else that is watching this. So I want to thank you again, Ricky, for coming on, man. Let's do it again. When you see
Absolutely.
some different trends, I want to interview you again for what you're seeing. The moment you see an inflection point or a change, please let me know and let's hop back on.
Will do. Will do. Thank you for having me, man. You're a real one for
Yeah,
sure.
thank you, man. I appreciate you. Be well.
Thank you.